The Seattle Seahawks pass defense got carved up by Jimmy Garoppolo and a bunch of Rams backups. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are doing well. Couple of things before we get into the content of this video, which is, of course, the final pass coverage Thursday of the season. First, last night's Bleacher Report stream was great. It was a great success. We got plenty of people in there for a first stream, and we went for half an hour just talking about offensive coordinator stuff for the most part, talking about some Geno Smith stuff. So if you were not there, you can go watch the video on demand by clicking the link that I previously provided to enter the stream. And once you're there, you can follow my Bleacher Report account, and you can be alerted every time I go live over there. It will be happening again next week and the week after, going all the way through the off season. So definitely wire in over there, download the app. A non-trivial portion of my content will be over there this year. Second of all, Hawks Nest stream starts in about 3 hours, starts at noon. So be there. We're going to talk about the end of the season. We're going to talk about Ryan Grubb. We're going to talk about offensive coordinators. Going to be a lot to go into. So definitely try to be there. All right. That's about it. Please like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. And now we get to the actual meat of the video. And there's not really much you can say about this one. This was bad. This was a pretty bad day at the office for the pass defense for the Seattle Seahawks. Jimmy Garoppolo, Tutu Atwell, and, I mean, well, it wasn't any really one guy, I guess you could say. It wasn't really one guy at the receiver position, but that was rough. And for a defense that had played really well the previous week and had played well overall this season, that was not the way I wanted them to end the season. In fact, their performance on Sunday was so poor, they fell out of the top 10 in points scored. Points allowed, rather. So that's a problem for me. That's going to be a little bit of a problem as we go into this offseason. Jimmy Garoppolo knocked you out of the top 10 defenses. So, yeah, the numbers are not going to be too pretty. The good news is a lot of the damage was done on backups. We'll get to that. But starting with the linebackers, where Ernest Jones, according to PFR, again, this is PFR, got targeted 3 times, but only allowed 1 completion for 17 yards, which that's not too bad. And Tyrese Knight, he wasn't the problem either. He got targeted 5 times, gave up 4 completions, but only for 29 yards. That's not really bad at all. If you're getting targeted 5 times for 29 yards as a linebacker, I can live with that, especially because we have to remember Tyrese Knight is a rookie. Tyrese Knight is a young player on this team. He can't be expected to be great in coverage. Rookies very rarely are, especially at the linebacker position. So, I mean, this wasn't the big issue, which is interesting because to my eye, the Rams really beat us up with screen passes. So you'd think the linebackers would be the guys getting killed. But according to PFR, it wasn't the linebackers so much. It wasn't even the edge rushers all that much, really. But this is the last pass coverage Thursday of the season, so looking at the big picture here, I mean, to me, the performance of our linebackers in coverage in terms of just the raw numbers was as good as you can hope for. Ernest Jones IV is not a great player in coverage. It's not his skill set. It's not his strength. He's a slower player. Coverage is going to be an issue for him in general. So the fact that he got here early enough to where he ended up playing almost 60% of our snaps on defense, and he only allowed 280 yards, no touchdowns, got a pick, 81 QB rating against. I'm down with that. And Tyrese Knight as a rookie, giving up similar numbers in about 50% of the snaps, I can take that too. And the thing with Tyrese Knight is it's all yak. There's literally no yards, air yards here. It's literally all yak. So Tyrese Knight is not the only person to blame on the plays where he's giving up yards in coverage. There are other players not doing their job too that is leading to the yak. But yeah, I'd say we're on the right track in terms of finding linebackers that can hold up in coverage. I know that there's a lot of subjectivity and debate on the issue of how to evaluate linebackers in coverage. But in terms of raw numbers, this is not bad. And if you believe that Tyrese Knight's going to take a step forward next year, like you would expect pretty much any young player to, could get better. All right, so the edge rushers, like I said, PFR really didn't have them get beat up that much, which is interesting because PFF certainly did. I believe the only target on an edge rusher was Draymond Jones. He got targeted once, gave up one completion for 12 yards. So his numbers for the season went way up because, I mean, it's such a small sample size, it's going to go up when anything happens. But yeah, overall, the edge rushers this year, if you put them all together, you're not seeing anything that I would say is alarming, right? Boye Mafe gave up almost 80 yards across 15 games. I don't really view that as an issue. Like, obviously, you don't want to give up any yards, but at the same time, you understand that it is going to happen. And it's not like it was like 200 yards. It's not something where opposing offenses are just taking advantage of you in a way that you might need to actually do something about. And again, look at how low the air yards are. It's the air yards for the entire edge room is what, three? Three out of whatever the sum of this is. This is like what, close to 150? So again, they're not the only people to blame when they get targeted. Yak comes down to a lot of other things. Cornerbacks. Devin Witherspoon, I think they backfilled some of his numbers from previous weeks because they added 11 targets and 8 completions. And look, Witherspoon got beat up a bit. I don't think it was quite that bad. But in terms of the objective numbers, it wasn't good. I gave up over 60 yards in coverage in this game. Good amount of air yards, good amount of yak. He gave up 2 touchdowns. And his quarterback rating allowed looks like a, radio station frequency. That's this is a problem, right? And I still think he played well this year. I think there are things going on with Devin Witherspoon that that go beyond just these raw coverage numbers, but this is significantly more than he gave up as a rookie. Like 200 yards more. And he didn't play extra snaps to the point where it would justify this jump. So I don't think PFR paints the picture exactly right, but there's no doubt he's got stuff to work on right now. 650 yards as a Pro Bowl corner. He did make the Pro Bowl this year, and no interceptions, and allowing that yardage on 88 targets. It's not terrible, but we got work to do. Reek Woolen had a good game in coverage. I think he gave up like 1 completion in this game, according to PFR, for 12 yards. So not really anything to be concerned about. And so his season ends with still good coverage numbers, man. Gave up 400 yards on the season, according to PFR. I think the fact that Trey Brown, who didn't even play that much this year, giving up 65% of that in his snaps, tells you that Woolen can still cover. There were some really bad moments, some really bad games, like the Green Bay game. But if anything, that kind of makes his season even more impressive in some ways, that he's able to put up really good coverage numbers despite having a game that bad. Now, this doesn't include penalty yards, and if you included penalty yards, things would change. But these coverage numbers are still good. It's just everything else, right? And I don't know what's going to happen with Woolen going forward. I really don't. It's really hard to crawl inside McDonald's head on this one, but the question is, are these coverage numbers good enough to justify his shortcomings as a tackler and as a run defender? Maybe not. Like, he gave up 53% completion. That's really good, but is it hyper elite enough? Is it, I mean, you've almost got to be Patrick Surtain tier to justify Woolen's inability to tackle and come up and run support. So it's a tough one. 68 targets, 400 yards, 3 picks. The 5 touchdowns are bad. But that's going to be a very interesting decision this offseason. Trey Brown played a little bit in this game. He got targeted a couple times, gave up, I think it was all screen passes. but he got beat badly, 32 yards on, I think it was, 2 targets, and, 2 completions. And then he got hurt, and that was that. And he concludes a pretty bad rookie season. Contract season. Fumbling over words. Yeah, not the contract year he wanted. Coverage numbers, not good. 124 QB rating when targeted. 26 targets, 261 yards. That is not the ratio you're looking for. 2 touchdowns. Pretty bad. Bad, however, there's a little bit of a monopoly on bad right now in the form of Nehemiah Pritchett, who got torched by the Niners in that Rams. Sorry, guys, I am all over the place today. The Rams. I'm thinking about Jimmy Garoppolo, so I'm thinking about the Niners. But 5 targets, 4 completions for 95 yards. I still like Pritchett. I think he can get better, but he's not better right now, that's for sure. And it wasn't a very good season for him. Granted, it's a very small sample size, but he's got a lot of things he's got to work on this offseason. 128.5 QB rating allowed, worse than Trey Brown. And if he doesn't show big improvement this offseason, he's probably not going to make the team next year. Artie Burns did his thing in this game, got targeted 4 times according to PFR, gave up 2 completions. Didn't really amount to much, 22 yards, perfectly tolerable. Ends his season having played very little, but the little bit that he played was fine. And Josh Jobe was hurt. So I don't think we got what we were hoping from our corners this year. This was supposed to be one of the strengths of our team going into 2024. And you're looking at like over 1,000 yards allowed combined between Witherspoon and Woolen. Woolen missed games this year, by the way. And then you're looking at, Jobe was good. I think these numbers for Jobe are very respectable, especially where we were with him before the season started. But overall, not great. So, got to be better next year. And maybe it's as simple as getting better pass rush. Maybe we need to play man more. I don't know exactly what it's going to take. But to me, this is underachieving. This is not where you want to be. Okay, safety to wrap it up. Julian Love did his thing yet again. He's actually really come on strong, I think, at the end of the season here. 7 targets, 3 completions for a grand total of 33 yards. Totally fine with that as a safety, especially. It seems like he got dinged for a lot of the the screens, which certainly can happen, him and Rayshon, but he didn't allow anything to get too out of hand, it felt like. 33 yards on 7 targets is totally fine. Got an interception, got his QB rating allowed under 90, and I think we can now safely conclude that he was worth the contract extension. He would have cost more if we let him get to free agency this offseason. So, looking good there. Rayshon, on the other hand, just can't find his footing. 2 targets, 2 completions, doesn't sound that bad, but he just looks ugly out there, man. It's just, he can't tackle. It's like ever since the injury this year, he never got the ability to tackle back, really. And the numbers don't look horrific here. We're talking about, 20, 26 yards on 2 completions, but he just looks tentative out there to me. So, QB rating allowed 113.6. He won't be here next year. And Kobe Bryant has another pretty good game. Only 1 target, allowed 1 completion, and that 1 completion went for a pretty decent gain, but it wasn't anything that was single-handedly responsible for this game. It's 1 target, right? Fluky things are going to happen when you're talking about 1 target. So, hey, Kobe Bryant ended up playing. Let's look at the snap counts here real quick. Let's get the percentage. 70% of the season, mostly as a safety, and didn't even eclipse 300 yards allowed. I say that's good, especially when he's a playmaker as well. He got 3 interceptions on the year, 77.1 QB rating allowed. If he's the starting safety next year, I'm down with that. If Love and Bryant are your starting safeties in 2025, I think that's good enough. And I wouldn't have said that as recently as 2.5 months ago. All right. So that's your pass coverage Thursday, the last one of the year. Sorry I kept fumbling over my words this whole video. But you can see where the issues were, right? We did okay at the linebacker spot overall. I was happy with those numbers. And the edge rushers were whatever, but the cornerbacks, man. Of all things, the cornerbacks, I'm not saying they were bad. Witherspoon did have a good season, but look at all these yards given up on cornerbacks. Not good enough. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.